Hi, I'm Paul Brodie, back in the shop again. Mitch behind the cameras. Thank you, Mitch. We have a lot of merchandise. We have mugs, all sorts of stuff. And from now until Christmas, we're having a sale. 18% off. Why 18%? Well, it's better than 17. And I happen to like the number 18. So you can find the code. I think it's going to be AER for Aermacchi 01. And it's a good time to stock up. Christmas. We are working on the Aermacchi hub, and we had some comments. I was going to machine down the flanges here, and it wouldn't fit on my lathe. So there was a bunch of comments, and people were saying arbor, that I should have an arbor. I made an arbor. Let me show you. What I did is I took an axle. It's actually the axle off this hub. I can't use it on my forks because it's too short. So that's fine. What I did is I put it in the lathe, held it in the 3-jaw chuck, and I put a center drill in there. So it's going to have a center. This gets held in the chuck. And then we can do each side. We'll do both sides. So this goes like that. I machined up a piece of alloy so it holds that. Then on the other side, this seems to work pretty good, like that. And then we make it tight. We'll go over to the lathe. Going to use a rounded tool. I'll tighten that on the lathe. I have to move the compound. This is the compound, and I have to line it up with the flange here. So we put that like that. Okay, I'm very happy with that. So next thing to do, we go back to the bench, and I swap this around. And then we'll do the other side, and we'll see how close the angles are. I did some bead blasting. I wanted to bead blast the hub, and I did. And when I bead blasted it, I took it out of the blaster, I got a surprise. See that crack there? So I believe what happened, and also this is 60 years old, but that shouldn't have a lot to do with it at all. There was a high spot here. I don't know why. There was a high spot. And then when you use the brakes, the brake pads, they go over the high spot. Here's the brake shoes. I got them relined. It's Ferroto linings. These are the green linings. Can you see all those little bits? That's some kind of metal, I believe. And that's partially what makes these aggressive linings. So they should work really well. And I think what happened was it's a race bike, and when you're on a race bike, you don't use the brakes softly. You put the brakes on hard. And I think what happened, there was a high spot, and it heated up. And when you heat up cast iron, it tends to get a crack. So I can't fix that. But what I can do is to is to make that little bit there lower. I believe this is fairly flat here. So what I did is I went over it and I tried to see if I could feel a high spot. And, well, maybe there's a little high spot. So what I'm going to do is to grind that down just a little bit, a few thous, so that it doesn't affect the braking. So it's going to brake everywhere else except for that little spot there. And I'm going to use this. This is a spiral roll. It gets used in the bicycle business, making frames. And I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to make that a little bit lower. And I'm going to call that good. I think that's good because I've only taken down a little bit there. And after the bike is being used, I'll take it apart and I'll do a visual check in there. And I might have to take a bit more off, or maybe that's good. While we're on the hub, we're going to talk about the speedo drives. This is the speedo drive which was on the bike. And this goes on the left side. And the wheel goes like that. So I made an arrow. Ashley Wildman offered me this to see if it'll work. Thank you, Ashley. And this goes on the right side of the bike. Can you see how? Left side, right side. So this one goes this way. So what I did, I took some 1/8" key steel and I filed it down a little bit because the actual speedo drive is about 100 thou. So I took a file and I filed it down so it goes in there. So this is my little flag. And we're going to attempt to just kind of mock up the ratio here. So if I start with this here and I see what it takes to go around a revolution, when the wheel goes around once, we're going to count this. So there we go. The little flag is coming right out here. So we come around. That's 1 revolution. And that's not a full revolution. So that's about, would you say 1.8, something like that?
1.75.
1.75, Mitch says. Okay, so the left is 1.75. And then on the right side, about that angle. So we'll do a count. So that's 1. And that's 2. And we're around like that, somewhere like that. So you can see what's going on. It's not 2.5, it's about 2.4. So you can see that it's a difference, but it could still work. I could put some marks on the speedo. I could do something like that. I did some work on the backing plate. Mitch will show you a photo, and you can see I've been doing some grinding in here, and I smoothed out different places. There was some lumps on the side, so this is going to cool the brakes so much faster now. It's going to be great. So I did a little bit of smoothing on the outside. I took some gray paint. I sprayed it, and then I did a little bit of sanding, so it's a progress in the works, and you can see what it's going to look like. I think the gray is going to look fine. You've got a nice little shiny bit here, and this will be matte gray. and it's coming along. So what I want to do now is I got to put these into the backing plate because these have to be machined down, or arch as they call it. And because this has to fit inside, I probably got, these end up at about 3/16. So I need to take off at least a 1/16 of an inch. So you set this up on the backing plate. So that's what I'm going to do now. These go like so. And then I have to make a shim that goes under here because it has to be spaced out a little bit. So I got my shim material. And then last night I was looking through all my notes, and I had some shims. What you do is to cut this off so that it's the same width, and then you bend up one side, and the springs hold it all together. And then this goes back onto the arbor. Remember the arbor I used to machine this? And then this gets set up in the lathe, and you machine this down. And because there's a shim there, when you get this the same size as the brake drum, there's a little bit of a space. Now, I can't remember what size of shim I used last time. This is a 15 thou piece of aluminum. And I seem to remember that last time I did this, 30 thou, 35, I can't remember. So what I want to do here today is to set this up, and then I'm going to look for my notes and my other shim. And then next episode, we're going to put this in the lathe and machine it down so it fits nicely in here. It just goes in, and then there's a little bit of movement, and then there's engagement. So that's what I want to do now. This is not an easy job. I guess I'm telling you this in advance because it comes off a lot easier than it goes on. Because you got the springs, and one hook goes one way, and one hook goes the other way. So that doesn't help. Of course, one of the viewers is going to say, oh, there's a much easier way of doing this. So the springs are in. That has to go over there. You want to try?
Sure.
Okay, Mitch to the rescue. I think his hands are stronger than mine. And Mitch gets to be on camera finally.
There you go.
We're good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. That sure bends easy. Okay, so that's what the shim looks like. Can you see how the shim fits in there? There we go. So I have some homework for next week, next episode. I will find out the right thickness of shim, set this up, and we will set it up on the lathe. Thank you for watching. Mitch and I like coffees. If you buy us some coffees, that really helps our channel. Merchandise sale, 18% off, don't forget. Thank you. See you next time. Have a great week.